Well, sounds very exciting. So next question is a little bit more general. And the question is, what are your thoughts on potentially shifting unused office space to affordable housing, given that not everyone is going into the office 5 days a week anymore, and there's a lot of office vacancy?
I'm going to kick that question to Ruth Ann, who's in Square 5. No, I'm kidding. So, look, I think it's similar to the hotel conversion plan that was announced, I guess, earlier this year. There's a kernel there that is great, but this all comes down to kind of the dollars and cents of how we're using very, very limited affordable housing resources. So I think there was an article this morning in Crain's about this. I was reading on the train that if there's, to me, there's kind of this movement we're seeing on World Trade Center 5. We went out. I mean, Emma was part of this RFP when she was at ESD. World Trade Center 5, last site on the World Trade Center, can be as of right a commercial building. And the community had said, there's so much office down here, we really would like to see residential. And then we've said, let's make them affordable here. Let's force some cross subsidy and get affordable units. This is going to be a big building. So we put a requirement for sort of MIH, the mandatory inclusionary housing, and ultimately the city wanted 25% at 50% of area median income, because low-income units are the hardest to get and the greatest need. And so we have a proposal for essentially 300 free affordable units in Lower Manhattan, which you would think was nothing, because there's now this sort of movement in Lower Manhattan to have 100% affordable. And Ruth Ann and I have actually been spending a bunch of time digging into the economics of this. And I think people do not fully understand how expensive affordable housing is to create. It is incredibly expensive. The hotel proposal for converting hotels, I think there was $100 million put toward that program. $100 million is like one building. The numbers are just so staggering when you dig into it. And so that is all to say that I think having flexibility to look at converting, whether it's hotels or office buildings, is great. But I think our expectations do have to be gauged with some reality of how expensive this is, and that a lot of offices aren't going to be conducive to easy conversion, just from sort of a structural standpoint. And I think, to the degree, this would be an area where I say we should really look at these as mixed income opportunities, because the ability to just use a tax abatement that is enough to cross-subsidize affordable units with market rate units, that's kind of how the 80/20 program started. It's the underpinning of mandatory inclusionary housing. It makes a difference. And in communities that are hot, where the land cost is high and where you have expensive buildings, which I think a lot of these conversions would be, it makes a lot more sense to do cross-subsidy and mixed income than to say that building has to be 100% affordable, because you are just going to suck out resources that just, I think from a policy perspective, just does not make sense. If we can build 10 units across the state for 1 unit in Lower Manhattan or Midtown Manhattan, we all are responsible for thinking about that. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't be integrating neighborhoods socioeconomically. We absolutely should. But there's an opportunity to do that without sucking all the resources out of other communities to kind of force a statement in one place. So again, I think it's great to try to have as many opportunities where we can look at making affordable. But I do think we all have a responsibility to be thinking about this big picture, not just small bore.